Everyone. Hello, welcome first timers to the green space. This is We the Commuters Live, biking edition. I'm Shumita Basu. I am your MC for the evening. I'm a transit reporter for We the Commuters. And in case you don't know, We the Commuters is just the catchy name that we gave to our transit coverage here at WNYC and Gothamist. So we did a little polling a couple of months ago, and what we heard from people across all different modes of transit was that people are feeling really frustrated, they're feeling powerless, they're feeling disappointed, and we've made it our mission to closely follow what's happening in transit land, both at the very top, at the agency level, at the level of elected officials, and down here in the trenches with what we consider the real people, like you and me, who are just trying to get somewhere, trying to get from A to B every day. So our reporting for We the Commuters is shaped by questions, tips, emails, and knowledge that you all send to us. So we really do rely on you to help fuel our coverage and shape it and tell us where to go next. So there's a few ways that you can do that to share your input with us. You can shoot us an email anytime at wethecommuters@wnyc.org. We all check that inbox. We've gotten a lot of emails ever since we told people on the air we're talking about biking for these few weeks. You can imagine the kinds of emails we've gotten. Some are glowing. Some are great emails from bikers and cyclists who say, we love cycling. It's great. It's what gets me up in the morning. It's what gets me where I'm going, literally. And I love it. And we've gotten some other emails too. We have a Facebook group that you can join, We the Commuters. We have a hashtag. You can guess what it is. It's hashtag We the Commuters. I hope you'll use it tonight. You can use it throughout the show. Share pictures. Hold on to quotes that you hear that you like and throw them up on Twitter and just use that hashtag so we can all see them. We have the whole social media thing going on. You can see all the different ways to reach out to us. And we have a weekly newsletter. It's an email newsletter. You're actually going to want to open it. That's a good thing. It won't just accumulate in your inbox like all your other newsletters probably do. It's got transit news, but it's also got some really fun little oddities like what's lurking in the lost and found at Penn Station. We've been there. It's weird. And next week on the air and on Gothamist.com, we will drop a bunch of stories about biking. So make sure you don't miss that. Sign up for our newsletter. You'll get it all delivered to you next Thursday. That's how that works. wethecommuters.org. You can sign up there. So let me introduce you to the team. We're in different places throughout the room. Just give an awkward wave when I call your name. James Ramsey at WNYC. He writes the newsletter. Where you at, James? There he is. The hat back there. Christopher Robbins at Gothamist. Stephen Nessen at WNYC. Jake Offenhartz, I think, is somewhere in the room. Yeah, there he is, at Gothamist. And Allie Feldhausen, our summer intern at WNYC. Allie, you in the room? There you are. Hey, Allie. Thanks for all your work, Allie. So, folks, we are gathered here today to talk about cycling, to talk about the joy and the thrill of being on a bike and of not relying on public transportation or relying on a car to get around. And we're also here to acknowledge what's happening right now in our city, where we've seen 15 people on bikes killed by drivers of motor vehicles so far this year. We have, from the NYPD, Terrence Monahan here for a panel on biking and the law. We will talk about how bikeshare is changing the culture on our streets. State Senator Zellner Myrie is here to talk about what elected officials at the state level can do. And along with those deeper conversations, we also have some trivia, as you already know. We have Showtime, for real, on this stage. And what might be my new favorite thing, which is Missed Connections Theater, based on real Craigslist missed connections. And all of them are bike-related just for tonight. So let's do a quick show of hands here. Who bikes at least a few times a week? Wow, okay. You're at the right show. Good news. Who bikes every day? A really good portion of you. Who biked here today? Oh, the real heroes. Sorry for the weather. Thank you for coming out in this bad weather. Does anyone here do competitive cycling? Okay, yeah, a couple people do. Some people dabble. Has anyone here ever ridden a Century? Whoa, so many more hands than I expected. A Century, for those who don't know, is a 100-mile bike ride. Wow, yeah, good brag. Keep your hands up longer if you want. These are the people who have done it. Well done, yeah. Okay, now that you're all warmed up, clearly you're loosened up, ready to do some trivia, okay? Here we go. Trivia time. This is how it's going to work. You already know a little bit about this, but know who's around you. You have teams of up to 3 people, right? Up to 5? Oh, you've been told 5? Then that's what it is. It's 5. You have teams of up to 5 people. Make your eye contact and get ready. It's going to go rather quickly, so I'm going to give you about 20 seconds to confer with your team, decide on your answer, and write it down. Are we ready? Ready to go? Everyone's got a group name, a team name at the top of your paper? Okay, let's do it. Let's roll the first question. Question 1. What's the slang term for a bike that has a cog that's directly tied to the pedals? You have 20 seconds. Name one. 5 seconds left. Wrap that up. Okay, let's move on to question 2. What's the name of the often synthetic leather padding found in bike shorts? 20 seconds. Go ahead. It looks like that. Five seconds, wrap this one up. Okay, question 3. What does BMX stand for? You have 20 seconds. Couple more seconds on this one, wrap up your answers. Okay, question 4. At what age are you no longer legally required to wear a helmet? We're talking about here. You have 20 seconds. In New York. In New York. City. City or state? City. I believe that's what we've gone with in our answers. Okay, ready for question 5? What is the colloquial term for the lowest gear ratio? There's a colloquial term for it. You have 20 seconds.
Can you make this one really hard?
The last one? You want the last question to be harder? I can't will it because it's already been chosen, but I'm trying to remember what it is now. Okay, ready for question 6? These underground road bike races, with rules like fixed gear only and no brakes, are called what?
The 6th Ave bike lane.
Some bike humor, ladies and gentlemen. 20 seconds. Okay, as you wrap up your answers, ladies and gentlemen, cyclists of all kind, if you could pass your completed sheets to the center of the aisle, just like you did in school, we will collect your answers, and then we'll talk about them. Round 1. This is round 1. There will be 2. How we doing, folks? Last call for your answer sheets. Pass them down to the aisle. Okay, what do you say? Raise your hand if you have a sheet that needs to be collected. Are we all done? Are we ready for answers? We'll tell you the answers right away, now that we collected your sheets. All right, ready? Question 1, what's the slang term for a bike that has a cog that's directly tied to the pedals? Nice. All right, everyone. Lots of people got a point on that one. What's the name of the often synthetic leather padding found in bike shorts? Nice. Chamois. We got some chamois wows here. What does BMX stand for? Aren't you guys so clever? All right, question 4. At what age are you no longer legally required to wear a helmet? 14. Yes. Ooh, that one was a tough one. Okay. We bumped off some people with that one. What's the colloquial term for the lowest gear ratio? Granny gear. Really good. We made these too easy, didn't we? Okay, last one. Underground road bike races. What are these called? Alley cat races. Well done.
Fixed gear only, did you not?
We did.
Monster track alley cat.
What do we think? Judges? Judges in the room? Is that a more accurate response?
Has anybody else here ever ridden in monster track alley cat race?
We have a couple.
More than twice. 3 times? 3 times?
Nothing gets auctioned off here, I promise you. I'm sorry to say. Okay, well done. It sounds like a lot of you did really well in the trivia round. We're going to move on to our next part. There will be another trivia round, so just don't worry. The next round might knock off some of you very confident people who did well this time. I want to invite my next guest to the stage. We're going to have a conversation next. My guest is Caroline Sampanaro. She worked with Transportation Alternatives for about 12 years, and now she is head of micromobility policy at Lyft, which operates Citi Bike. Caroline, come on out. Hey, come have a seat right here. Welcome, welcome. You didn't bike here today, right?
I didn't. I took the subway.
Excellent.
Also, good choice.
Also a good choice. Well, the weather was sort of crummy, unfortunately. So, Caroline, you are a veteran cycling advocate. You pushed for some of the very first bike lanes here in Manhattan. And now you work for Lyft, which is primarily a car share service. You want to give us a 30-second version of why that makes sense for you?
Sure. The funniest part about it is that when I joined Lyft, I couldn't really talk about the fact that I was going to be working on bikes and scooters because it was confidential at the time. And that left everyone with a very curious expression every time I told them. Short answer is that when I met John Zimmer, the founder of Lyft, he told me about his mission for the company, about competing with car ownership, getting people out of cars into shared rides at the time, but also in a bigger picture, transit, shared bikes, shared scooters. I was really compelled by the fact that I found myself at a moment in my career where I'd be able to reach more people than I'd ever been able to as an advocate. And I felt like with the acquisition of Motivate, the operator of Citi Bike, that I was going to get to sort of carry forward the work I had been doing as an advocate in a totally new way. Again, reaching many more people. And so it felt like an opportunity I wanted to seize.
Let's talk about this report that came out earlier this week out of McGill University. It confirms something that we know to be true about the current Citi Bike network and what has been an open criticism, really, of Citi Bike, which is that it largely serves an economically privileged, mostly white population, one that already has a lot of strong transit options. Meanwhile, Citi Bike is on the verge of a huge expansion. It's early on. Can you tell us anything about where you're expanding to and what criteria you're using to identify which communities need you to expand there most?
Yeah, I want to start by saying that I think the desires expressed in the report and a lot of the feedback surrounding it are really important. I think the vision for Citi Bike has always been a citywide system. As an advocate, I led the Citi Bike for All campaign for 3 years, which won unanimous council support to bring public funding to expand Citi Bike, and we struck out year after year. One of the most exciting and important reasons that I joined Lyft was that I knew I was going to have an opportunity to make good on that commitment and that promise of expanding Citi Bike to more neighborhoods. And so, we committed $100 million to triple the fleet size of Citi Bike, getting it to 40,000 bikes. We're going to double the footprint of the service area. This is an incredible thing, and I think something that many New Yorkers have worked tirelessly to make happen over the years. So the commitment is there, and I think we're on the verge of something really big about to happen to get at the heart of some of those concerns expressed. I think for the sake of being fair, push back a bit on the idea that we don't serve underserved communities or communities that need better transportation options. right now, 40% of NYCHA residents live in the current Citi Bike footprint. We have been working in Bed-Stuy, for example, with Bed-Stuy Restoration Corporation since the very beginning to build out a low-income membership program, which is $5 a month, to make sure that we're getting bike share in the hands of people that need it most. And so while we haven't done all we want to do, I think that there has been, from the very beginning, a commitment to equity, and that's something that we at Lyft feel very strongly that we want to double down on and do better on.
So this expansion was announced at the end of last year, right? And I think a lot of people have been waiting to find out more news about what neighborhoods you might expand to next. Is there anything you can tell us?
I'm not going to break City Hall's news, but I will say that I think, again, it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be a moment for so many new neighborhoods to participate in the expansion process, in the question of where stations should go, and we're really thrilled about that. And, in particular, also working with new community-based organizations like Bed-Stuy Restoration to engage them in the process of reaching more New Yorkers and engaging the community well.
I imagine that your criteria for selecting where to expand to next is very different from your initial core network that you built. Can you talk a little bit about the criteria, what you're prioritizing?
Yeah, I think going back to sort of the origin of bikeshare as it is today, there was a strong desire for it to become an extension of the public transit system, to mimic and mirror public transit with stations that were reliable, predictable, and sort of seamless in terms of the way that people were getting around. And so, yes, from that very beginning, there was a decision to start in the core CBD, central business districts, as a way to begin the program with the highest possible ridership and then expand from there. So, we're going to be continuing to build upon that success. We're not, reaching into a bag and picking a neighborhood out of a hat. We're going to make sure that we're in touch with communities, working with city council, which we have been for many months as we build out the expansion plan. And the work really is going to begin once we make that announcement. Neighborhoods know best where bike share stations will work well. We know a lot from what we're doing today. We serve so many New Yorkers. 80 million trips have been made on Citi Bike, which is an incredible thing. And actually, I would just reflect on the fact that as an advocate, I remember crossing picket lines, and I'm not joking, to cite bike share stations in neighborhoods. There was skepticism, there was resistance, there was a sense that this was going to be an intrusion on what made New York City great. And what we've seen over the years where Citi Bike has been on the ground is the exact opposite. Now we think of Citi Bike as being sort of core to New York, as a key part of the transit network. And so it's really actually exciting that so many neighborhoods want to have it come to them. And can't wait to make good on that.
I understand that the DOT largely dictates where Citi Bike stations should be put, right? Like, this is a DOT process. They're engaged in it right now to figure out where to expand to next. Is there a way that the DOT invites input from people in different neighborhoods? If someone here is thinking to themselves, hey, I really wish Citi Bike would expand to my neighborhood, is there an input system through the DOT or through Citi Bike?
It's actually the all-powerful bike lobby that decides where Citi Bike stations go, which is the real reason that I'm part of this. No, you're right. The city of New York is steering this ship. We are proud to be the partner, but we are not making those decisions. I think those decisions are in part based on planning expertise, right? We have amazing planners in New York City at the Department of Transportation. It's also our council members and our community boards. And so, I think the success of Citi Bike has been about people. It's not been about the hardware on the ground. It's been New Yorkers choosing to ride the system, choosing to want more of the system, making it our own. And that's going to be the same for the expansion. It's going to be you raising your hand, going to a community board meeting when it comes up on the agenda, making sure that demand for this thing and support for this program is what helps drive the best possible outcomes.
I went to the DOT's website where they list these projects, and there's a website you can go to if anyone here is interested. It's nyc.projects.info, and they list all the different projects they're involved in. You can look for your neighborhood on the map. And right now you can see they have one open project for Citi Bike related to L-train mitigation, which is looking at Bushwick and Ridgewood. And they also list events where they send out their officials to like a plaza and just go and talk to people. So if you're wanting to track down a DOT official, you can find out where to meet them on this site. Caroline, I saw Citi Bike tweeted about the die-in that was staged at Washington Square Park in solidarity with cyclists, and in fact encouraging people to show up. How do you see Citi Bike's role in this moment of advocacy and, for better or for worse, politicization?
It's important to remember now, going back to this point about being such a part of the fabric of the transportation system here is, we have a lot of members that look to us for leadership. We were getting a lot of questions about the fatalities in the news. Actually, a lot of my colleagues who work in New York City on Citi Bike were coming to me and saying, I'm considering not bike commuting anymore. And I was encouraging them to, of course, to keep riding. We felt like it was important both just in terms of our commitment to our riders, but also our role as a leader in New York on transportation to make sure that we were showing solidarity. Before I joined Lyft, one of the most important things that I have been a part of in my career was the founding of Families for Safe Streets, a traffic violence victim advocate organization that's housed within Transportation Alternatives. We work to lower the speed limit in New York City. We help make the impossible possible by bringing a bike lane to Queens Boulevard, formerly known as the Boulevard of Death. That the activism that has brought so many important steps forward in the bike transportation network here in New York City, the people that have been a part of that, activism has always been at the core of progress. And so I think, again, as our role here is clear, we really want to make sure that we are taking that seriously, informing our members, and in supporting the community that's making change on the ground happen.
One last question for you. There is a critical mass ride coming up in less than 2 weeks. Haven't seen one of those in a long time here in New York, right? I'm wondering if some people in this room were responsible for organizing it, perhaps. Come talk to us afterwards. We'd love to talk to you.
There are no organizers.
Excellent. So, Caroline, you got arrested at a critical mass. You used to ride in these, right? In 2005, you were arrested in one. Seeing as you were part of the old guard, I suppose, of this movement for bike lanes in New York, what do you think is necessary for this critical mass ride to be perceived as successful?
The success of critical mass, of course, is the personal joy and satisfaction of riding with so many people on the street and really claiming that space. And I think there have been many people before me that rode critical mass, and I'm excited to hear there'll be many people after me. I hope I can bring my twin 2.5-year-olds on that critical mass ride, actually. Again, going back to sort of how change happens, we all are doing different things every day to make it possible. And in activism, critical mass being a part of it is, of course, part of that. And so I'm really excited that that is coming out of the die-in as part of a legacy of how we can continue to act together, to ride together, and to make change together.
My guest has been Caroline Sampanaro, head of micromobility policy at Lyft, which, of course, operates Citi Bike. Caroline, thank you so much for speaking with me. And now for a brief... And now we have a brief comedic interlude.
And now, a missed connection from Craigslist.
Flower dress woman on bike, Riverside Park Pathway Sunday, Upper West Side. You rode by me going south as I jogged north, wearing shorts and a gray t-shirt. You smiled, and that smile stayed with me like a butterfly, until I could get home and write this. You were on a blue Citi Bike, perhaps stolen? And your flowery dress billowed in the wind, and I was filled with a sense of freshness the moment my eyes met yours. I kissed you and held your hand in my mind, and made a vow to approach you and ask you to marry me if I saw you on the way back. But I only came across some goats. Now I'll put my faith in C-list.
Yellow fenders. It's all in the timing. Lower East Side. Oh my God. You had yellow fenders and a black commuter bike. I had purple handlebars. I followed you from the corner of Christie and Houston one morning, and we hit every green light until Lafayette and 12th. It was so satisfying, the timing of it. I think you appreciated it too. And I wanted to ask, but then the light turned green and off we went. I turned at 13th and you continued on toward Union Square. I hope the light stayed green from you all the way to your destination.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Rachel. I am Chris Robbins. I'm a reporter and editor at Gothamist.com. I've been riding a bicycle in New York City for almost 10 years. We're here to talk about bicycling and the law. We have a great panel for you. They are Adam White, an attorney at Vaquero & White and a cycling advocate. Shabazz Stuart, CEO of Oonee, a company that combines low-cost bike parking in public spaces, and also NYPD Chief of Department Terrence Monahan, who's the highest-ranking uniformed officer in the NYPD. So let's hear it for our panel. Okay, while we get settled here, a question for all of you. When was the last time you rode a bicycle?
Me around 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
12 o'clock today.
About a half an hour ago.
Right in
Very good. So I'm going to ask each of you individual questions, and then we'll open it up to the whole panel. Chief Monahan, the mayor recently announced that the NYPD would be cracking down on dangerous driving in response to the 15 cyclists that have been killed this year so far. What do you feel like is the most important component of that response, and why?
Oh, we want to make sure we're getting cars out of the bike lanes. We built bike lanes, so it's important that cars aren't parked there. So there's been a heavy enforcement on hitting people parking in the bike lanes.
Very good. We might come back to that later. Shabazz, as a business owner trying to navigate, city law, are there things the city is doing right to encourage people to bike, and what could they be doing better?
Look, my fixation obviously is on creating an infrastructure ecosystem to support people on bikes. So I think the city has done in the past an admirable job in focusing on safety, because we know there's a correlation between safety and ridership. What I'm focusing on is everything else, namely secure bike parking and charging. There's a strong correlation between your ability to access safe and secure parking for your bicycle and your desire to ride that bicycle on a regular basis. Today we took up our first secure bicycle parking installation in New York, and that was largely due to the fact that red tape hampered us from actually drawing in any revenue, make the operation sustainable.
So you had to remove it. Sorry, just to be clear.
We had to remove it, correct. And so my perspective is the city needs to start focusing on all the other ancillary elements of the experience, and to do so in a holistic fashion. So bicycle lanes, yes. Charging stations, yes. Secure parking stations, yes. And what makes this experience of cycling secure, but also convenient, fast, safe, and reliable.
Cool. Adam, you've been representing cyclists and pedestrians for around 2 decades.
Yes. And I look much younger.
What piece of advice would you give to someone who has just been hit by a driver?
Get the plate number. Try to get the police to respond and show up. And if you can't do that, most of the times you're able to, try to go to a police precinct and get them to prepare a report as quickly as possible. We have had a lot of issues with that with local precincts. If you leave the scene of a crash, we have found it very difficult to get a MV-104, which is the crash report, from local precincts. That would be a wonderful thing for Chief Monahan to address, because it's so imperative for lots of different reasons to get that crash report from
You're talking about the
police.
victim leaving the scene of the crash.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Victims leaving the scene of the crash. Sometimes the police show up. Most of the times they do. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes the victims don't think they're injured, and they are injured because the adrenaline is so high. They don't know the severity of the injuries, and we've had a lot of people who have left the scene of the crash without getting information, without the police showing up, and they don't have insurance. And there's an entity called MVAIC, which provides for no-fault insurance, $50,000 in coverage to enable victims to get their medical bills paid for, because a lot of people don't have insurance. No fault is primary, and that's where the NYPD really, it's a critical role, and I want to emphasize that local precincts need to get that report done to respond to it, and not to give some excuse that, do it yourself or whatnot, because it's critical to get those medical bills paid for.
Chief, do you want to?
No, it's critical for someone to call the police to come to the scene so they can investigate, one, that there was an accident. So we have to make sure that there aren't people crash accident.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that.
Sorry. Got it. We use that all the time. Don't worry about it. Collision. That there was a collision. That we can investigate, make sure it happened, what happened. Hopefully we can identify the cause, especially if there's an injury, because if there's an injury and someone's leaving the scene, that's a crime. And we want to be able to investigate it. We don't want someone to come in days, weeks later, saying that they were involved in a collision and we have nothing to show besides their word on it.
Can I just address that point for a second?
Sure.
Because that is an excuse that's used by the police all the time. And I kind of understand where you're coming from. The critical thing here is that the police are not the jury, the judge. They don't actually, one of the things they write on the reports is did not witness. So they take statements from people. We deal with a lot of hit-and-run collisions, hit-and-run crashes, and this is a big problem in New York City, a really horrible problem. So when an injured victim comes in, if the police don't show up at the scene, or and they go to a precinct, it really shouldn't. I just want to educate you on this point. It's not the job, and most precinct commanders and patrolmen will say it's not our job to make a determination. All we're asking is that the police precinct take the report. They're not making a determination whether something happened, but what they're critically doing is they're taking a victim statement saying it did happen and let the insurance company, let the civil justice system decide whether it happened or not. But for the police to make the determination, we don't know this happened, we don't know who you are.
Yeah.
The police need to take that report. It's critically important, and let the civil justice system make a determination. It's not for the patrolman or the commander in chief to make a determination at that point. All they have to say is, this person came into the station. We're making this report within 24 hours to enable the justice system to work its way out.
There is an ability though for a bicyclist or anyone to file that report directly to the motor vehicle, and that's what happens on a lot of occasions. Is that if there's not over $600 worth of damage or a physical injury, it can be filed directly by the persons involved to the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Okay, and fair enough. We have so much to cover here. So
didn't we get so heated? But we deal with this on a regular basis.
Drivers cause the vast majority of, and this is for everyone, crashes and injuries and deaths on New York City streets. But the traffic law treats cyclists and drivers very similarly. In the future, as the city strives to make the streets safer, should that standard be the same? Should cyclists and drivers be expected to abide by the same rules of the road?
Yes. If people are sharing that road, it's a shared road. And obviously, anyone operating a vehicle, a bike isn't going to cause the death of someone operating a vehicle, but a vehicle can cause the death of someone on a bicycle. So there's a real responsibility for someone driving a car to make sure that it's safe and that they're operating it safely, because that's a 2,000, 3,000 pound vehicle. But same thing goes that bicyclists do need to understand and operate within the laws for their own safety. You can't just because you're on a bicycle feel I can run a red light, I can go the wrong way down a street. As more and more people are operating bikes on these streets, you could stand on any corner and you're going to see a ton of cars doing things wrong, but you're going to see just as many bicyclists doing things dangerous.
I'm sorry. I want to look. No, the answer is no, because bikes are not the same as cars. My bike weighs 19 pounds. My friend's car weighs 3 tons. And 8 years ago, I was arrested and I was held in jail overnight because I committed the grievous act of biking on the sidewalk while leaving my building. And look, no, biking while black is a thing, right? I don't know how many tickets were written for biking on the sidewalk in Park Slope versus biking in Bed-Stuy. I imagine the ratio is probably 100 to 1.
I've got one.
So a few months ago, there were some kids in Union Square who didn't have bells on their bicycle.
And Union Square.
And they were brown, and their bikes were impounded. And that reminded me of an experience. And so, look, when we talk about treating bicycles the same as cars, I'm saying no, because that's not today what actually happens. We have a double standard. Bikes are not treated the same as cars. When cars break the rules, their cars are not impounded. Cars get tickets, right? When cyclists break the rules, their bikes get taken away. They often go to jail if they don't have an ID. If you don't have an ID, you get a ticket, you go to jail. You see the judge, right? And I can tell you that as a guy who's had that happen to me. It's happened to friends. So I just want to I'm sorry, I don't mean to go on a diatribe, but we just have to get away from the idea that cars and bikes today under law are treated the same, because they're most certainly are not.
And why? So I think that sort of leads me to my next point. Who is ultimately we can't really ticket our way out of, enforcement isn't the only tool here, obviously, at the city's disposal. The DOT and City Hall can redesign streets. How much of this should be enforcement, and how much of it should be rethinking how our streets work? And I guess, Chief, does the NYPD ever lobby the DOT or City Hall to make street improvements to make, officers' jobs easier, to make the streets safer in that respect?
We will look, working hand in hand with DOT. When we look at areas that there are a lot of collisions on, we will look and make recommendations, but it's ultimately the responsibility of DOT to come up with those safety designs.
So there's a popular Instagram account called Cops in Bike Lanes, and there seems to be, the energy in this room. Hold on. What is the beef between cyclists and the police department, and why do police officers park in bike lanes? And I know it's a tough question to ask.
And sidewalks.
Right. So, thoughts, feelings.
Listen. First off, obviously, cops are human, and they do things they are not supposed to do. They shouldn't be in bike lanes. Absolutely, it causes a danger, and it's something that we address. A cop's still going to do it. It's going to happen on occasion, and I guarantee if you go outside somewhere, right now you'd find a cop parked in a bike lane somewhere. It could be if they're on an emergency. There are times you have to get out of the car quick, but in a lot of times, no. They're parking somewhere to get out. Maybe they're getting a cup of coffee and getting back in. That shouldn't happen. It's something that we're talking about to our commanders, to be on the lookout, to move the cars, make sure it's not getting the word out.
If I could opine, I sort of feel like our previous police commissioner, Bill Bratton, talked a lot about disorder in New York City and how the police department is designed to tamp down on disorder. And I sort of feel like the attitude from some police officers is that cyclists are part of that disorder, and they don't quite fit into the fabric of New York City the way that other people might think. Is that, am I totally off base with that? Is there not a cultural issue between cyclists and police officers?
There's not a cultural issue. Again, we do respond to complaints. And if you look at 311 calls, there's a lot of complaints from people about cyclists on the roads. Driving the wrong way, running through lights, almost hitting pedestrians. We get as many complaints about cars and cyclists as you do people complaining about cyclists.
Can I ask you a
Our
question?
job is to just address whatever those issues are in their neighborhoods.
What is the issue with getting more cops on bicycles? Because I feel like if police officers are in cars, they're going to take the perspective of a motorist. But if we have police officers experiencing the world through the eyes of a cyclist, then perhaps they'll be more sympathetic to why cars are so dangerous in bike lanes.
And we do have bike officers. We established the bike teams going back around 2 years ago. So We have a couple of hundred right now.
How many officers you got in
What?
cars?
All right.
A lot more because we have to respond to 911 calls. We have to respond all over the city. So, yeah, we need the cars to do that.
So-
You need teams.
Trucks. 7 of the 15 cyclists who were killed this year were killed by trucks. Truck deliveries in the city aren't going away. The city's addicted to delivery services. What can we do to ensure that the trucks that are on the road are safe to drive and that, the visibility issues are addressed? And how can we have truck drivers not hit cyclists anymore?
Again, I'm going to go
And
back
this
to
is- yeah,
the
sorry.
shared responsibility between the cyclists and truck. Obviously, there's 1,000 trucks out there, and there isn't a day that you're going to go by between trucks making deliveries, having to move in and out. These are dangerous streets. Dangerous for cars, dangerous for pedestrians, and dangerous for bikes. Everyone has to take some sort of responsibility. We summons trucks all the time. And when we talk about summonses and enforcement on bikes and cars, it is 10 to 20 times more on trucks and cars than it is on bikes.
And Christian, I think this gets us full circle actually to your question a few moments ago, which was, is it design or is it enforcement? And I think it is definitely, most certainly design. There is a relationship between infrastructure and behavior. And today we have streets that encourage drivers and incentivize drivers to drive fast and without regard for pedestrians and cyclists. And so, with some sympathy for what you're saying, there's only so much enforcement you can do before people just revert to how the streets encourage them to behave. We need to have streets that minimize the speed of vehicles, that encourage pedestrians, encourage cyclists to move freely, and take us away from what is a pervasive car culture.
Can I just, I totally agree. Great points. Since we have Chief Monahan, I want to really appreciate your appearing here.
Thank you.
And, what I want to say is this matters. This is very important. This is an indication that you're taking this very seriously. I think the problem is perception. We have two schools of thought. We have there's a perception out there. I see it in our office. I see it among our clients. I see it among advocates, people in the audience, that the police do take a windshield perspective. And I won't go into all the reasons for that. But one thing, a couple of things I'd like you to address is, why is it, since you're here, why is it that when a cyclist gets killed, the next day there's a ticket blitz against the bicyclist? I think that creates a perception of the cyclist. There's a message that you guys send. Okay. Instead of, at that point, when someone gets killed by a truck or a driver, why shouldn't there be a ticket blitz against drivers? Why are you guys going after the cyclists?
Or a lobbying blitz to City Hall and the DOT to say this road appears unsafe. These other more structural issues could be addressed.
Why does NYPD blame the cyclist right after the accident? I think that's also a part of this.
I mean, these are all very significant things. We deal with CIS, Collision Investigation Squad. They keep things under, to themselves, or they should, until they fully investigate. But why is it always that they blame the cyclist? The driver had the right of way. The driver had the green light, even though they were turning right into a pedestrian.
Let me address that, because you're right. It is absolutely insensitive of us to go back to a scene where a bicyclist has just been killed and go summons bicyclists. That came up recently at a press conference. I addressed it as it came to me, and I completely agree. So moving forward, the enforcement is not going to be on bicyclists. We may do education for bicyclists. If we saw someone doing something dangerous, they'll be stopped and educated, but it'd be insensitive to give summonses, and the enforcement for 72 hours after that will be strictly on the vehicles.
I have one more question. If you could wave a magic wand and change anything about New York City streets or traffic law, what would you change?
I get rid of all the cars so I can drive around.
That was an honest answer. You want to, Shabazz? Do you want to, or any? You want to weigh in on that, or
I don't have a driver's license, so I.
Okay, but just in general, like if you were to change one law or part of the system.
Look, I mean, we got to get rid of the cars. I don't have a driver's license. I don't drive. I experience the world from that of a cyclist, a pedestrian, and a transit rider, and all the problems on the streetscape are caused by the fact that we drive 3-ton vehicles. We allocate 95% of the space for 1% of the population. It doesn't. It doesn't make sense. And with all due respect to people who want to drive their cars, that's like people who want to live in a penthouse. And right, I mean, literally, it's absurd how much parking there is, and so and how much of our space and our public space in the street is dedicated to cars. And so I want to grow up in a city, and I want to live in a city where kids can play on the street without fear of getting hit by a car, where people can walk without running for their lives across the street. That's the kind of city I want to live in, where cyclists can bike without being hit and run over by a cement truck. I know that's a long-winded answer, but that is the kind of city that I want to live in. Those are the kinds of streets that I want to enjoy.
I'd live there. Adam, do you have anything to add? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say that we should look at cities like Amsterdam and European cities. Because we are, while I appreciate everything DOT has been doing recently trying to shift things, we're 30, 40 years behind them. And I think that if we make an infrastructure, protected bike lanes, where old people, young people, disabled people with pedal assists and everything have a safe network, we need to really radically shift. It's a paradigm shift. Perhaps we would need the police as much. And everyone's slow speeds and get everyone on the bike. The air quality would improve, people's quality of life would improve, and the city's a great place for cycling. It shouldn't be every day you're taking your life in your own hands, which I experience on a daily basis as well.
Okay, thanks to our panelists. Thank you so much.
Okay, folks, how are we doing? We've got more ahead of us. I can't really see the clock from here. Can anyone tell me what time it is? Nuh-uh, it's showtime. You fell for that. That was good. I fell for that exact thing on the subway a couple months ago. Folks, this is part of an ongoing series we're going to be doing here in the green space, where we invite performers that you've probably seen on the streets and on the subways and everywhere you've been out in the world. So please welcome this artist who can frequently be seen performing on the shuttle. He's a singer, songwriter, guitarist from the Bronx. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Priceless.
Hi, guys. Hello. All right, so I perform on the shuttle train all the time, so you guys probably have seen me before. The shuttle train in time between Grand Central and Times Square. I know there's two. There's one in Brooklyn as well, right? There's three. Where's the third one? Ah, okay, cool. You guys got it. I hope you enjoy this one. I wonder sometimes, wonder if I was wrong. Was I wrong? Right. Trying to right by you got me here, but now all I am is alone. Those eyes, those lips, those thighs don't compare at all. At best, all they do is distract me, but deep down, all I want is you. All I want is you, yeah. All I want is you now. Now that you're gone, being your friend is killing me softly. Hear voices wondering where I went wrong. It was my fault, right? In the wrong time, I wonder so often. Regret gets exhausting. Those eyes, those lips, those thighs don't compare at all. At best all they do is distract me, but deep down, when I face it, baby, when I face it, all I want is you. Can y'all snap? All I want is you, yeah. All I want is you now. Now that you're gone, 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 gone. 'Cause they don't smile or smell like you. No, they don't make me laugh or even cook like you. No, they don't photograph. No, they don't love like you. Let's face it, I can't replace it. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Does that make me crazy? Possibly. But I know why. I'm crazy 'cause I want you in my heart and my soul. Don't forget my mind, 'cause you know it's out of control and full of thoughts of us. 'Cause you already know I'm not the type of guy to give up or just let go. So I'm gonna put a fight, gonna put the gloves on, gonna hit her with the love she wanted for so long. The other guys could've provided, you know why. So take a ride with me to the other side with the grass so much greener. So they say the sun will come out tomorrow, but want it today. Forget about it, 'cause I'm gonna take your sorrow and pain and turn it into a rainbow right after it rains. I want you. All I want is you, yeah, yeah. All I want is you now. Now that you're gone, gone, gone. All I want is you. I'm still clapping. That's energy. Thank you so much for y'all. Woo! Here we go. The next song is an original piece. It's called Melissa. I have a girlfriend. Her name is Tiani. Her name is not Melissa. There's a whole song. So if you listen really closely, you can hear the way I describe her in adjectives using her name. Here we go. Yeah, yeah, got a magical energy which makes you so lovable. A beautiful smile which makes you more incredible. Sexy and sophisticated all at the same time. Really wanna make you mine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You say you got a lot of problems. Don't worry, girl, 'cause I know how to solve them. I'm a mathematician, 2 + 1 = 3. You and me, plus some love could equal a family. But let's take it slow, just give it some time. It can all work out alright. 'Cause I know how to take care of a woman. I won't do you wrong. I show you why I love you by the end of this song. You got a magical energy which makes you so lovable. A beautiful smile which makes you more incredible. Sexy and sophisticated all at the same time. Really wanna make you mine. Silly and you're marvelous, independent and real talkative, but in a good way. 'Cause I love the way you speak, I love your voice, I love how you ask me to sing. So I sing for you, I sing for you, hoping one day it would all come true. That you'll be mine in due time. We'll love each other until we die. You got a magical energy which makes you so lovable. A beautiful smile which makes you more incredible. Sexy and sophisticated all at the same time. Really wanna make you mine. Look into my eyes, what do you see? Look forward in time, do you see me with you in your life? Yeah, yeah. Look forward in time, do you see me? Look into my eyes, do you see we with you in your life? Magical energy which makes you so lovable. A beautiful smile which makes you more incredible. Sexy and sophisticated all at the same time. Really wanna make you mine. You got a magical energy which makes you so lovable. A beautiful smile which makes you more incredible. You're sexy, sophisticated all at the same time. Really wanna make you mine. So there was a lot of issues with that relationship that never occurred because she had a man in jail, a baby, too many things. So I'm so glad I'm with you, baby.
He can definitely make a whole room applaud. Priceless, where can people hear you? Where are you normally?
I'm normally on the shuttle train between Grand Central and Times Square.
Okay.
But other than that, I performed in SOBs, Yankee Stadium, Madison Square Garden, Apollo Theater, won first place as amateur night, things like that. So.
What is it about the shuttle train that makes you want to perform there?
The shuttle train, compared to all the other shuttle trains that you guys said, the one in Grand Central and Times Square is just the best one because it's the heart of the city. You have the district area of Grand Central, and you have the tourist area of Times Square. You put it together, and you got great energy. You have people that give, that want to see you progress in this career that is really difficult. You know what I mean?
And you're out there, you're playing originals sometimes, at least, right? Sometimes you do remixes.
I try to
covers.
refrain from doing originals on the train due to the fact that I don't have anything copyrighted as yet. But, because you can record, you can say, oh, I wrote this, and then it's at the end of the day.
That's a very good point. I was going to ask what plays better with a crowd.
Definitely, like, top 10 or top, 25, on billboards.
I'm going to let you take it away for one more song, right? You have for us?
Yes, the top 10. Here we go.
And this is how you can follow him.
Right there.
On IG, right? That's an Instagram.
That's my IG.
Take it away, Priceless.
Here we go. Last song. If y'all know this, sing along, because I'm out here losing my voice. Here we go. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. I have my horses in the back, horse tag is attached. Hat is matty black and the boots are black to match. Riding on a horse, you could whip your Porsche. I've been in the valley, you ain't been above that porch. Ain't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing. I've been riding on a tractor, lean all in my bladder, cheated on my baby. You can go and ask her. My life is a movie, bull riding in boobies, cowboy hat from Gucci, Wrangle on my booty. Ain't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing. Man, I'm broke as a joke. It ain't funny. Have to lose it all just to find out that she don't love me. That thrift shop is a new Gucci. Real life is that new movie. My trap house and my frat house, and my left hand is that new booty. Truly, I got nothing, no obsessions, no possessions, only stressing about the struggle for the money. Yeah, sweater weather in a tank top, abs out when it's sunny. Then I catch a nap at your girl's crib. They gosh thinks I'm funny, cause can't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing. I want to get away. I want to fly away. Yeah, yeah. I want to get away. I want to fly away. Yeah. I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road. I'm gonna ride till I can't no more. Thank you so much, y'all. Y'all been a great audience. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for giving space. Have a blessed night, y'all. Peace.
Yes. Can't top that. But so if you've been in the subway recently, you might have seen those Seamless ads that tell you how New York eats. Seamless and Grubhub control around 80% of the food delivery market here in New York City. They account for more than $1 billion worth of sales nationwide. But human beings still have to make those deliveries for Seamless and Grubhub. In October of 2017, Mayor de Blasio announced a crackdown on illegal e-bikes that are favored by immigrant delivery workers because they have a throttle on them. The fine for possessing one of those bikes is $500, and the NYPD confiscates it. In 2018 alone, the NYPD confiscated over 1,200 of them. So in the midst of all this, a filmmaker named Jing Wang made a short film called A Winter with Delivery Workers. It was recently featured at the Museum of the City of New York as part of their Cycling in the City exhibit. We're going to watch a clip, and then we're going to bring her up on stage.
The number. Hey, how are you? Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
就是想多赚一点钱，我老婆因为上班一直多病，想多赚一点钱，就是再苦再累我们都不受了，就用体力劳动嘛，赚一点钱养口补家吧。
And we got more and more complaints from people around the city, so it was obvious that something that used to not be as big a problem had gotten really substantial. This year already there's been over 900 electronic bikes confiscated by the NYPD. And we thank you for that. That is 170% more than this time last year. But the kind of electronic bikes that the delivery folks use, you're just not allowed to use them in New York City. We see a bike, NYPD will confiscate that bike. Anytime they see a bike, they will confiscate the bike. To get it back, you're going to have to pay more and more fines. We have to go after anyone who creates a threat to neighborhood residents.
But there's also a balance of the guys that are on bikes and how many accidents and pedestrians and different things.
How many accidents are caused by them?
There's a lot of accidents that caused by
What was the most recent one?
The most recent, I don't, listen, as a transit supervisor for over 13 years, there has to be a balance. Some people do need to get arrested, unfortunately.
很滑，没办法骑。我们还好，还有电动车骑，因为我两边脚都放在上面，这副驾的，对不对？如果用单车骑，那就不能骑了，单车还要用脚踩力，还用脚踩，
哇，
没办法骑。
今天有警察抓吗？
今天没有警察，因为今天可能有下所以他警察也不来，他也会怕人。
Let us welcome Jing Wang to the stage. Hello. Hi. Me. Oh. Yeah.
Microphone.
What really strikes me about that clip, aside from that last little kicker there, is you can hear the delivery worker sort of grunting and exerting themselves as they walk up the stairwell, just for like a 4-second interaction with someone, and then to do it all over again. Could you talk about, I guess, like what drew you to making this movie?
Like why I'm making this movie?
Yeah.
Well, as you can see, the delivery workers, Lian Deqing on the clip, it took him an hour to drive to the destination to deliver a food order, and the encounter with New Yorkers like 5 seconds, and this is common on street. That's how we treat people. They are deliver food to us, but we treat them like a machine, right? For me, like. I grew up in China, and in the 90s, I basically grew up on bikes, and I started riding bike to school when I was 8. And the first thing I bought in the US was a purple bike from Walmart on the third day I arrived here. So I can go to school, I can find a job, I can survive my first year. And when 3 years ago, Professor Terry Hom in Queens College connected me with Dr. Do Lee, and to help him to be a translator for his dissertation research. And it was shocked for me. And by riding an e-bike on the street in New York, and you can facing up to $500 fines, and your bikes can be confiscated. And many workers, immigrant workers, because they have immigration issue, they were being held in jail for 24 hours. Right.
How... just to give people an idea, like what are the wages like for a delivery worker? Like how much do they take home per shift, per week?
So they are paid like really, we call it kind of shadow economic. I know the minimum wage for New York City is $15 per hour, but for delivery workers, they make about $40 to $50 on their paycheck, not paycheck, like usually a lot of them they work by cash, they paid by cash, and they run on by tips. That's the thing, like a lot of us with customers, when we order deliveries, when we dining in restaurant, we know we should pay tips to waitress, but actually delivery workers, their life is run on tips as well.
Right. They're the ones going several miles versus, a few feet from the kitchen.
Exactly, so tip them.
So can you think of any particular cases that really you found especially egregious when you were making this movie?
So, for example, one time I interviewed a food delivery worker in his early 60s, and he described one time when he worked on 14th Street, and one time he made delivery, and police took his police took his e-bike, and also took the food he's supposed to deliver. With the bike. So he went to the police station. No one speak Chinese. No one offered translation for him, and he's a country, and he barely read Chinese, and like he don't know any English, so he ended up doing a protest as the way they did in China countryside. Like he was lying on the floor of the police station, in the front of the police station for a whole day, to get to finally they can bear it. Someone come out talk to him. Yeah.
Did that work?
Kind of. He said he got his bike back. So there's a huge gap when we think about advocacy, when we think about like make sure delivery workers' voice keep being heard. There's huge language barrier, cultural barrier. A lot of them they're scared about police. You know, like I heard like the delivery worker was described as rat on street from mainstream media, also from delivery workers themselves. That's how they feel. They have to run on bike for 10 hours a day, despite the snow, the rain, and the terrible weather condition. They also have to to keep watching out the police to make sure they not caught them on the street. So they describe that's how we feel. After we spend sacrifice so much, like our family and their livelihood in another country to came here, have long journey to came here. Finally, they feel they have found a peaceful job. They can feed their family, grow a family here, and then they were every day on the street. They were worried about police gonna catch them.
Right.
Right.
And you know they're obviously part of this larger economy. How much of that larger economy is, affects their day-to-day life? Obviously they're independent contractors working for an individual manager or a restaurant, but like Seamless, Grubhub, are they present at all in these workers' lives? Do they help them with expenses, or do they pay for their health insurance, or?
It's my focus has been immigrant delivery workers, and most of them are Fujianese, and they are in their middle or older age. Like came to this country in the late 40s and 50s, 60s, to able to ride on e-bike, give them opportunity to work. And so from Seamless and Grubhub, first, I haven't interviewed anyone from the company. They haven't been involved in our bike public project and our delivery justice coalition. They haven't involved to say, hey, we want to be part of this. We want to protect our workers. We haven't heard anything from them. But I do hear on the news, they treat their workers terribly. There's no health insurance. And they're growing economic, and also create huge competition for immigrant delivery workers. Because a lot of them wasn't able to work, got paid to able to pay tax, to able to work on the table. So create huge competition for my characters. Yeah.
There's the state legislature passed a law this session that would allow localities to legalize e-bikes, including the ones that delivery workers use. The governor has not signed it yet. It's unclear if it's going to be a law. What do you think will happen if the governor decides to not sign the bill and that we're still left in this limbo for the time being?
First of all, I wish, a lot of us, we have been working on this for 3 years. We wish the governor can hear the delivery workers' voice. We wish our film, our advocacy work can make impact to the government. And the main problem is the city's infrastructure. Right, our street is built for cars. It's built for traveler, for 1%. It's not for people riding a bike. So, and I hope it totally finger crossed, hope it can happen. But if not, which means our work have to continue. And there's to ban on e-bike, it's really took off their livelihood for a lot of delivery workers. If the governor they able to saw this film, they able to see this film, they able to go to Chinatown in the midnight, 12 a.m. with me and my Dolly and my Bike Public Project team to go there in a basement to the community center to see in the midnight 50 delivery workers gathered after 10 hours work in the winter night to show their frustration, their worries. If they can hear that, they should sign the bill.
So
if they don't sign the bill, our work continues.
So they're organizing, is what you're saying. The workers are organizing, is what you're saying. You know, they're coming together to organize for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because to the banding on e-bike, when is this clip like Mayor de Blasio announced on Upper West Side, he's gonna force police enforcement on e-bikes, and he want to pile monies to put the money in good use from the delivery workers, right? So when we talk about a fare in the transportation, when a car breaks a red line, how much the ticket would be, right? Like about $100,
yeah,
right? And for delivery workers, they make $50 a day. And when their e-bike being confiscated, they're being charged $500 on the spot. And they lost their bike for a week to get it back. And they lost like a week of work. And they also facing to be fired by their boss. And they also facing like a lot of struggles because of the ticketing. So it's not definitely unfair ticketing. And there's 90% of e-bike ticketing go to immigrants, not like people like American looking typically, but it's go to immigrants, right? Those who cannot communicate for themselves. Right.
We will see if the governor signs the bill. Thank you so much for joining us. We're out of time.
Thank you for having me.
We have another special missed connection treat for you now.
And now, a missed connection from Craigslist.
Okay. Oh, Lord. Just trying to get it right at my mouth. Great looking girl on D, the train, parentheses, Bronx, New York. Great looking black girl on the D train heading southbound from Yankee Stadium to 59th Street, Columbus Circle around 5 to 6 p.m. You was wearing a leopard skin dress. It's an emoji, but it's a dress. You very classy, nice white shoes. You had your hair done nice and a great smile and look. You was standing in the middle of the car by the exit door. I was sitting across from you wearing a Yankee jersey and delivery hard hat with my company electric bike. I would have said hi, but I was wearing my work gear, so I felt uncomfortable at the moment. Just wondering if you're interested in getting to know me more. I looked at your fingers, very nice nails, and I did not see a legitimate ring on that finger, so I'm assuming you might be single. I could be wrong, but if nobody has captured your heart or mine, maybe I can. You will not be disappointed. Hope to hear from you soon, your D-Train admirer. I got off at 59th Street and said goodnight to you in heart and in my dreams. Peace.
Walker in Rockaway Beach. I said hi on your bike, and when you circled back around, asked for your number. You put it in my phone as Walker Rickaway instead of Rockaway, and didn't put in the full number in? Come on, Walker. Anyway, I owe you a Sunday Times.
All right, friends, are we ready for the next round of trivia? Yeah. Let's do it. It's on same teams, so still look at the people around you. Here's something kind of funny that's happened, okay? Two of the teams in this room named themselves the same thing. It's not that creative, and that's why they named themselves the same thing, so it's not that remarkable, but two teams who named yourselves Upper West Side. Can you raise your hands? We're going to need one or both of you to choose to switch your... Oh, both next to each other? Or you're one team? What's the other team that named themselves Upper West Side? Oh, you submitted 2 sheets. Are they identical sheets? But they have different answers. Our judges will decide how to handle this aside. Okay, everyone, settle down. Don't worry. We have some very fair judges who will decide what happens now. Okay, everyone, you have your papers ready? Let's do it. Question 7, because there were 6 before. Are hoverboards legal in New York City? You have 20 seconds. Ready? Wrap this one up. Next one. What is the name of New York City's Director of Bicycle and Greenway Program at the DOT? It's this guy. This guy. In case you're better with faces, you have 20 seconds. Everyone got that one. Wrap that one up. Ready? Question 9. A blank blank is an intersection where car traffic halts while pedestrians can cross in all directions, including diagonally. 20 seconds, go. Looking for 2 words here. Blank blank. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Boo. Surprised no one booed for the other guy that you didn't recognize. All right, known as the master builder, this man is credited with creating much of New York's car-centered infrastructure. Name that guy. Give you 5 more seconds. Okay, next question. The blank 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 is the name of the most heavily used bikeway in the United States. Name that bikeway. Blank blank blank. Give you 5 more seconds for this one. These guys are ready to move on. Okay, last question. Which New York City mayor instituted car-free hours in Central Park, big hint, in the mid-1960s? You have 20 seconds. Okay, wrap up your answers and please pass your sheets to the center of the aisle. Just like we did in school. Oh yeah, make sure your team name is on it. Make sure the same team name is on it. If you change your team name, it's not gonna work out. We won't know who you are. That would be good. I should mention there is a prize involved for the top winning team. So if you all name yourselves Upper West Side at this point, the joke's on you. You won't get a prize. I will say there is a 3-way tie for first right now. Should I read the names? Will that make it a little more exciting for people? All right, I got the names here. The 3 teams tied for first are Jameson Crosdale. Okay, good. One of the Upper West Siders, which was all of you. You're just the same team. And Siggies? Siggies? All right. So let's see how you fared after this round. I'm going to bring up my colleague, Stephen Nessen, for the next segment.
Hello, everyone. Like she said, I'm Stephen Nessen. If you don't know, I'm the transportation reporter along with Shumita at WNYC. Thank you. And I'm happy tonight I'm going to be talking with a recently elected state senator, Zellner Myrie. You may or may not know him. He's new. But he represents a bike transit heavy neighborhood, several bike transit heavy neighborhoods, Sunset Park, Brownsville, Crown Heights. He's 31 and was elected along with a group of young state senators that beat out an old guard of legislators. He survived his first legislative session and appears to have emerged unscathed, although he's not on stage yet. He's a powerful advocate for election reform, affordable housing, criminal justice reform, but obviously tonight we're asking him about street safety and biking. And he's here also because 2 of the 15 cyclists killed this year were killed in his district, one in Sunset Park. the other in Brownsville, and I'd like to speak with him about that. So, Senator. Welcome.
Thank you. And I'm 32 for the record.
30. Your aide told me 31.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
All good.
So there was a vigil this year for Ernest Askew. He was a 57-year-old man who was killed by a driver in Brownsville at the end of June. And you were at a vigil of his, and you said that his death is part of classism and racism that's built into our transportation system. And certainly Shabazz Stuart spoke about that tonight when he talked about biking while black. And I was wondering, I'd just like to hear you elaborate a little bit more on that and explain how you, in your position as a state senator, could address this.
Sure. And so, what was interesting is that I got pushback for calling out the classism and the racism in our transportation system writ large. And I think that proves the point exactly, because we do not call these things out for what they are. I think it is hard for us to discuss cycling and street safety if we do not discuss those two things. We have, particularly in my district, there are neighborhoods that have been underserved by public transportation, that have been deliberately, we have seen transportation that utilizes things that are not friendly for the environment. Brownsville is the only neighborhood in Brooklyn that still has proliferation of diesel buses that are riding through. We have no elevators in any of our train stations in Brownsville. We do not have protected bike lanes in Brownsville.
What's the bike lane network like there?
That's right. And so, but there are parts of our district that do have protected bike lanes and that do have this infrastructure, and they happen to be the neighborhoods that are wider and are more affluent. And so I think that we need to be honest about this conversation when we are talking about street safety, and we cannot remove the conversation of cycling from that.
But as a state senator, certainly, you don't control necessarily, the city's Department of Transportation. But do you have any ideas, any suggestions, any thoughts that you've been having recently about what could be done at a state level?
Yeah, I think that we, firstly, we have a role to advocate. People elect us to communicate both to the public and to the city agencies that have the jurisdiction over this about what the public needs and what's going to be best for the community at large. I think we did some things in the state Senate that were already discussed tonight. We authorized the city to increase speed cameras, which I think went into effect today. And I really want to pause and give credit to Senator Andrew Grenardez, who has made this one of his top issues. I think that as we was discussed on the previous panel, we passed a law on e-scooters and e-bikes that is yet to be signed, and we're going to keep pushing for that. We passed congestion pricing as well. And so I think there are some things that we've already done. I think we need to take it a step further. When we talk about people who utilize a 3,000-pound piece of metal, you should not be riding around the city with impunity. And so I actually have a bill along with Assemblymember Carroll that was in response to 2 children that were killed in Park Slope in my district, that if you have a certain amount of traffic infractions as caught by the speed cameras, that you should have your license taken away. And I think that this is... I think I am careful in the discussion on enforcement, because enforcement generally means enforcement for people that look like me in a disproportionate way. And so I do think we need to be careful around that discussion. And to that end, I think the city council bill sponsored by Councilmember Lander that focuses on the restorative justice piece is also something that we should be pushing and advocating for.
Somewhat related to that, as you know, the driver in many of the deaths, I think the majority of them anyways, particularly Mr. Askew in your district, the driver drove off after the crash without even a summons. And the other gentleman, Hugo Alexander Cinto, who's 26 years old, he was on an e-bike, he was doored by a taxi and then hit by another car. Again, in that case, there was no summons or arrest made because by the law, no crime had been committed. Is there anything you would want to see happen differently in regards to what happens when a cyclist gets hit?
You know, this is one of the more tragic things where we have people lose their lives or get seriously injured. You know, I know we've been having the conversation around the 15 cyclists, and that is incredibly unfortunate. But there are countless more people that are injured that don't make the news and who have had their lives completely altered with no recourse. And I think that's why it's important for us to really seek preventative measures and look at ways to disincentivize this type of behavior. You know, in my district, also in Sunset Park, we lost an immigrant pedestrian who was just crossing the street. And this particular population that has some trepidation about coming forward, period, to speak to law enforcement, period, I think it's very difficult when these tragedies happen for there to be any sort of trust between law enforcement and this community. So I think the more we can do to prevent this behavior, to restrict this behavior, I think the better.
Is there anything you'd want to reform, perhaps? Like, one of the things I believe state senators could do is somewhat modify, the ability to get a license with the Department of Motor Vehicles. Is there anything about driver training you'd want to change, or anything about access to a vehicle after a crash? I know we talked about the red light camera tickets, but is there anything, at the DMV you would want to reform?
I mean, I think that the kind of what I spoke about earlier on, if you have demonstrated that you do not have a propensity to follow the traffic laws, you should not be on the road. And I think that is a common sense reform that we should be looking at. I don't have a driver's license, like one of the earlier panelists, right? So it's very hard. It's very hard for me to speak to the training. I'm a commuter all the way and a heavy utilizer of public transportation. But I think that the bad actors, and the truth is that it's not there's a small amount of people that are responsible for a disproportionate amount of the damage, and I think that we need to be very targeted in making sure that those folks are not on the road.
And just last question, I'm just curious, we had a great panel tonight, lots of interesting, diverse voices. Is there anything you heard that sparked any ideas or anything that you would take from tonight to want to, carry on into your work?
I really want to elevate really the last panelists and our immigrants who are the, I think, unseen and unheard voices in the transportation conversation. There are a lot of people that I think rightfully so in the African American community, and particularly in areas that are gentrifying. When we see new docks and new bike stations, there's a visceral reaction to that because there's an association with gentrification, and I think that is fair. But it's also true that most bike riders are people of color. And there's a whole host of immigrants who are riding at 4 a.m. in the morning or at midnight who we don't know and who we don't hear from in this conversation. And so I'd really like for us to elevate their voices and see how we can be protecting them.
Well, I think that's all the time we have. But thank you so much. It's great speaking with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And Shumita will come back with the winners of the trivia night. So I'm sure you want to find out. I'm not sure if you participated as well.
I did not. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
So, by way of tap dancing a little bit longer while we tally up your answers, we didn't tell you the answers to your last round of trivia questions. We're going to go through the answers right now, real quick. Ready? Question 7. Hoverboards, legal, not legal? Not legal. Not legal. Not hoverboards either, but that's not the point. What's the name of this guy? Ted. He is Ted Wright. Did you just write Ted? Just Ted? I don't know. Is that a half a point? First name basis. A blank blank is an intersection where car traffic halts and pedestrians can cross everywhere, including diagonally. Did anyone know this one? A lot of people knew this one. Okay. You get points for any of these. Barnes Dance, look it up. It's based, so Barnes Dance, the name Barnes Dance is based on a DOT commissioner who actually did not invent it, but he popularized it here in New York. Fun fact. Who's this popular guy? Robert Moses. That's him. The blank, blank, blank bikeway. Hudson River Greenway. And question number 12, which New York City mayor instituted car-free hours? Lindsay. Which teams got all of them right in this round? Okay, it looks like maybe two. We have the winners. We have the answers. Okay, are you ready? Ooh, can I say this out loud? Good thing I'm not on the radio. I will censor myself just for my own sake. The winning team is called Vision Blank the Police. Fill in the blank yourself. Which team is that? You get awarded a tote bag filled with all kinds of goodies, including a WNYC bike bell, which is pretty cool. All right, congratulations to our winners. I just want to say thank you all so much for coming out tonight. We had a great time. I hope you did too. Hope you learned a few things. Hope you felt the competitive spirit. And I hope that you took some interesting dialogue away with you. We the Commuters is hoping that this is going to be a semi-regular event here in the green space. We'll take on different topics each time, but we're really glad that you joined us for cycling. So please do follow us, email us with your tips and your questions and everything. Can't wait. Thank you.